Hello, hello, traders. Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday to you all. Hope you guys are doing great today. My name is Jason Krutzky. It is a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon for Netflix earnings announcement. I haven't done a live stream in a few days. I was feeling under the weather last week, so I apologize for missing Friday. I wanted to be here, but my stomach said no. My stomach had other plans. So hopefully you guys are doing good today. I wanted to take this first few minutes of the session, well, of course, to welcome you all. I hope you guys are well. If you are tuned in, there are a few of you guys here. Please say hello. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you're tuning in from. If you want to talk about anything at all related to TrendSpider, related to the charts, I'm happy to do it. This is a very free-for-all kind of little session that I have planned for us today. I did want to take a few minutes and kind of go over kind of everything that we're seeing on the charts within the platform on Netflix. There were a handful of things, if anybody caught. We made a very short little video this past weekend. It went out on the weekend, or maybe went out Friday night. With a little bit of analysis on Netflix. If you hadn't seen that, I wanted to take a moment and kind of go through those concepts that we discussed in that video. First thing here, this is the monthly chart of Netflix. And what I've got drawn, what's up, Billy MHZ? How we doing, bro? Hope you're well. And what I've got drawn here, what's up, Daily? How are you, buddy? You bought INTC today. Okay, we'll take a look at it. I'm kind of curious about that one. I had that one on my list of names to take a look at today. But what I have drawn here, this is a volume profile. If you're new to TrendSpider or you're not fully aware, you can actually manually draw volume profiles using this drawing tool right here. And I like to utilize this to kind of see where the volume is across a certain area of the chart, but not all of it. So like if you guys are used to maybe volume by price measures from point A and extends out into the future indefinitely. And this allows us just to see a section of the chart. And why it's interesting to me is really kind of simple. I mean, it's kind of easy to see prices running into all of this overhead supply that got built up back in 2020 and all through up to the summer of 2021 even. So there's a lot of overhead supply here. We can see the point of control from this swing that brought us up to the all-time high is kind of right here at like $511. So not a huge surprise to see price getting stuck and having a little bit of trouble. Also, though, kind of interesting to see that the VWAP from this section, price has really kind of just been stuck in between the point of control, that's where the most volume at price is, and then the VWAP, which is your volume weighted average price of all of the buyers who bought from the September 2019 lows up to the November 2021 highs. So this is going to be a lot of sellers here that are finally back to even, right? You got all these people who bought up here in the $500 to $700 range. Prices finally, after presumably a grueling year and a half, has made it back to their break-even level, and somehow they managed to have the cojones to stick with it. So if you're a buyer who bought back in 2021 at $500, cheers to you. If you never sold, amazing, but you're selling now. Some of you guys are, and we can see it in the price, right? And so, you know, when you're thinking about an earnings date like today, I know there are a lot of you out there that like to gamble and like to trade 0 DTE options on earnings. We got to take a weight of the evidence approach. We got to look at the whole thing and kind of decide, is it worth doing? And, you know, this thing has rallied quite a bit off of those May 2022 lows. Gosh, the low was $154. That is insane. So it's over a 3X in less than a year here less than 2 years, a year and a half. Pretty amazing. Your dad's one of them. Wow. Good for him. I mean, you know, if you can do it, more power to you. That's amazing. All right, so these are the key levels to me on the monthly time frame. This is what really sticks out. There aren't, a ton of indicators that you can look to for higher prices from here, right? We've been trading up for quite some time. If we go down to lower time frames, we'll see some other things. So let's do that. I'm going to go now to the weekly chart here and kind of take a look. And the thing that I noticed on the weekly chart, pretty clear, is this retrace, right? From the all-time high down to the July 4th, 2022 lows. Where did we initially get stuck? We got stuck at that 50% retrace. Not a huge surprise to see that, but they did hold lows. Now they've rallied up to the 0.618. If we double click on this, we could add the 0.786 as another level of interest. If they do end up pushing this thing higher and extending it, wouldn't be a huge surprise to see it continue up towards that 0.78. Now, if something to think about too is with these fibs, right? You assume that if we can get past this like 50%, 0.618, if they can start pushing higher, they're probably going to go back to the top of the range. Now, whether they'll do that in a straight line or not, I'm not saying they'll do that in a straight line, but if they can get past this, we have to start expecting these levels higher. You guys know me and how I trade with price action. You've got a high here and then this high, right? So you have a huge break of structure. Let me do this too. Let me make this not smooth. You have this huge break of structure here. So perhaps this high aligns with that 0.786. That would be another spot. If we remove this, you could see there's also a really big fair value gap up in here too. So, if earnings turn out to be banger and they do push this higher, 585 seems like a logical spot that they might try and target next. If we go down to the daily, we'll take a look at the daily. And the things that I noticed on the daily, I kind of took a bit of a different approach on the daily. Let me remove this. Let me go to MACD and RSI. And the reason why I kind of mentioned MACD and RSI here, obviously these are momentum. We're looking at strength and momentum. You've got divergence in momentum. You've got divergence in strength, right? Relative to what price is doing, you got price making higher highs pretty continuously. They kind of failed a high here, or they just slightly made a new high. But you've got price making higher highs, you've got RSI making lower highs, you've got MACD tightening. Everything is tightening. So as we know, price can correct both through price and through time. So we got to keep this in mind. Just because we have this divergence here does not necessarily mean that a reversal is imminent. This could just be price correcting, and very well might be. Some alternative data to consider here. I thought seasonality was pretty darn interesting. Strongest performing month of the year historically for Netflix since 2002 is January. I think that's something pretty big. And then if we add mean change here, what do we get? Mean change on average in January is 15.4%. So if you're going to have a big move on Netflix and potentially a big move to the upside, January is kind of your best bet for it because you have the most chance, or the highest win rate in January, and you have the highest percentage change in January as well. So a 15% move would be pretty darn impressive. And the reality is, if we zoom back out to the monthly here, if we zoom back out and we measure off last month's close to the current price, we've really only achieved like less than a percent change from last month's close to this month's current price. A 15% move would land us quite a ways closer to that 560, 575 area. So I'm really excited to kind of see what they do here. I am not a fundamentals guy. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We can look up Netflix earnings and kind of see what they've done. So they were both already selected. So we can kind of see what they've done recently. Let me refilter this by the most recent. So the past couple earnings reports have been double beats. We had a double beat in August, double beat in July. we could filter this out as well if we wanted to. We could filter this out just by quarter four. Now, it is important to know that, you know, this quarter four doesn't necessarily equate to a previous quarter four, but just want you guys to know that it is possible to do. So you can compare if you wanted. Looks like last quarter four was a pretty lousy report. Anyway, interesting. Joe Sam, 58600 will be labored. What does that mean? DSP, you think so? You think back to all-time highs, 10 days before earnings strategy. Oh, yeah. We could kind of talk about that too really quick since we have a little bit of time here. Let's do that. On the platform, we can test we can strategy test like the lead up to earnings, right? It's kind of going to be, let me show you. So I can say earnings dates within the next, whatever, 10 days. And then, I don't know, let's get out. Let's get out. Earnings is today. And let's look back. So essentially what this is doing, this is just testing. It's testing the run up to earnings. So it gives us a very simple idea of kind of what we can expect. We might have to go back. Let me do this actually. Let me say earnings instead of today. I'm going to get out if earnings within the next day. Actually, let's make it 3 days. And let's make this 20 days. So we're getting in within 20 days of earnings. We're getting out 3 days before. And so if nothing else, this is just giving us a very, you know, like a simple, actually, you know what? Hold up. Let me make this one. I want to make sure that I'm not getting out on earnings, or I'm not getting back in before earnings. I want to get out on earnings. Yeah, here we go. That's better. Yeah, so all intents and purposes, pretty darn good results over the past handful of earnings dates. Hopefully you guys can kind of see this. Off of the lows here, you had a run up, a 9% move run up, a 3.5% move run up, an 8% move run up, a 10.5% move run up. You did have a couple of pullbacks. So this is your like run up to, let's say earnings is today. Let's use earnings today as our entry. And then let's get out after 20 candles. So we could see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the last 7 earnings reports. Let's just take it back to 8. Last 8 earnings reports, 20 days out, you are higher. Some of these are like really big moves too. July 2022, you had a 16% move higher, 20 days out. October 2022, you had a 17% move higher, 20 days out. On last quarter's earnings, you had a 14.5% move 20 days out. So this thing is capable of making pretty big moves after earnings too. If you have Braden on, tell him I sent him an email. I will hit up Braden right now. Give me 1 second, I'll do it. Ah, yeah. And we're already seeing it, right, Joe? Like we just talked about at the beginning with those monthly, the point of control and the VWAP of that whole earning, or the whole all-time high, the move up to the all-time high, that whole swing. Right. And I agree. You do. You have tons of sellers up there. So, and they've been selling, in theory, they've kind of been selling for the past 2 months, right? We've kind of been stuck just below all those sellers. So they're going to need to bang it up. Like they're going to have a really killer report today to drive through all of that. I don't disagree with you. Yo, Daily, I just hit up Raiden for you. So quick question. While we got everybody here, what are you doing here? You know, I recognize some of you. Joe Sam, you're new. I've never seen you here before. What brings you to the show? Are you a TrendSpider trader? Are you not a TrendSpider trader? If you've never been to one of these shows before, if you've never tuned in, this is an office hours. And here at office hours, we answer TrendSpider related questions. This is your chance to kind of ask whatever questions that you might have and get them answered like right on the spot, live in the flesh for you. So if you have curiosities about TrendSpider, I'm here to address those. So hit me with them while you got them. I'm thinking I'll hang out, you know, for like an hour or so today. Right on. Well, Daily, tell your subs to join up and tell them to hit me with questions if they have them. Take a look at your INTC here if you want to. You know me, I like to start quite zoomed out. Wow, what a move, huh? Over the past couple of months. Pretty impressive. Do they have earnings soon? Oh, they do. On Thursday? Kind of a tricky little monthly chart here. A little bit similar to Netflix. A lot, presumably a ton of volume in here. We can kind of see what that looks like. I don't know, from here seems about right. And yeah, right? Stuck at the VWAP from the swing. If you want to call it that, that might be a loose interpretation of that section of the chart. A swing. Because there are kind of multiple swings in here. But you could see where my head's at. Kind of this section. Why it's rejecting where it is, or why it's kind of paused. You have all of that volume. Yeah, just not as hot of a name, huh? Ah, TMS or TSM moved it. Makes sense. Up and over anchored view up from all-time high. Oh, no, that's not all-time high, is it? Here's your all-time high. Where they found support. So then same ideas on Netflix. Fibs from the high to the low. There's your 618 retrace. There's this fair value gap right here. I'm just going to utilize the assistant for anybody who's not a TrendSpider user yet. We have this AI functionality called the assistant, which can automatically do lots of different things on the platform. I'm using it right now to add indicators to my chart. So this is what I was referring to, this big fair value gap here. If they are able to push it higher, you kind of have that same idea as what we just kind of showed on Netflix there. Big structural break right here. This brings you up to the top of that fair value gap, 65 bucks or so. That is a ways away. I don't know how fast this stock moves. Looks like it's a pretty slow mover. So I don't know. I don't know to anticipate. I don't know if it's fair to anticipate that continuation. But yeah, filled this big fair value gap right here. Nice rejection at the very, very top of it. Let's check out seasonality really quick. Second best performing month of the year historically since '86. January. That's kind of interesting. Oh, let's also check real quick. Median change, 5.57%, or rather mean change, 5.57%. So the highest percentage change of any month in the year. And let's just kind of see where it's at. It's interesting. So like, you know, you can utilize seasonality in kind of two different ways, right? You can think of it like a way to confirm the strength or the weakness that you're seeing, or you can look at it as like, oh, it's kind of a counter. Price is not doing what it tends to do. So if your mean change in January is 5.57%, well, we're nowhere near that because we're trading below last month's high or last month's close. So we're actually down almost 3%. Yeah, I don't know. You might get it. These are some big months here. Almost makes me wonder, what is this? 38%, 38.5% in 2 months from low to high. Let's take a look and see how that plays out. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying price close greater than price open. One candle ago. And then I'm going to add a buy at least, like a margin. And I'm going to make this, I don't know, let's say 35%. And then let's get out because I don't really care about the exit here. I just want to look. All I'm doing here is looking to see when this name has, you know, a 2-month move of over 35%. What does price tend to do after that, you know? Clearly, it hasn't had that powerful of a move in quite some time. Last time it saw moves like this was, wow, December of 2002. Coming off some multi-year lows. After having just taken out all these lows from back in 97. This is kind of an interesting section. You have this big, powerful move. Here's your at least 35% move here back in June, July, 99. They kind of went sideways for a few months before really turning it higher. It looks like in a lot of cases, though, when you have, like, I'm just seeing here, you know, you have your move, then you have your entry, and on your entry candle, like where we're at now, because we're essentially there, right? We're in along because of that move per this strat. And it looks like in a lot of cases, you have that big move, like right here. Sorry, right here. You have that big move. Here's your 35% move, and then sideways kind of choppy candle. Doesn't give back the whole move, but definitely retraces. Then you have a big move, and then you have a sideways choppy set of candles, giving back, retracing, but holding and continuing higher. Here, big move, sideways, right? The next month. Here, big move, and then a give back. Here, a big move, and then sideways, right? So actually, it's kind of following the pattern track that it tends to do. Like when it has a big move like this, the following month, at least those 5 or 6 positions that we just looked at, that the following month has a tendency not to like gain all that much. Has a tendency more to go sideways, come in, retrace, test. And it's pretty rare too, 11 positions over the past 38 years, that it's had that powerful of a move. Kind of interesting. That's the last time you own the stock. Recent beatdown. Fundamentally, it was just way overvalued and went in crypto. Buy the rumor, sell the news. But where's the support levels for Mara? Let's take a look at Mara. All right, so keep this in mind. You're coming into some seasonal weakness, especially getting into the spring. March, April, May. Tendency to not be so great. You do have, well, they're working on it. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. Hold on. So first thought, here's weekly. Always going to anchor from the high. You can see kind of what they're doing. There are a lot of charts that look like this right now. This one is pulled back a bit more than the many that look like this. But with these big bases, those old highs coming in. So like a firm is a good example. Those old highs coming in. Price trying to find support. Coin, similar. Those old highs. Price trying to come in, find support at those old highs, right? So that Mara's broken down clearly suggests weakness relative to some other names that are kind of in the same position. Not the greatest look, but you know, this is its chance to kind of get your average buyer, you know, to come in and support the stock. I would look at this VWAP from the highs here at 14 or so. I would kind of look at that as a big kind of risk off level, depending on your time frame. They've cleared this little fair value gap. There's a little fair value gap right in here that they've just cleared out. They managed to hold the low. This guy, right? They managed to hold it. So that tells you a little bit of something. On a shorter time frame, perhaps you're trading just off of this low. My guess is, let's see here. Platform gonna identify it? No. So it doesn't meet the requirements, but there is a bit of this look. Essentially, little double top thing, right? So you might want to keep an eye out if they do bounce it, kind of what they do in here. From the lows. It is almost time for Netflix earnings. So from the lows, your average buyer's stuck, 17 bucks. I might also want to try from here. See where they're at. All right, so there's you a little spot. See, I kind of always assume max pain, and you know that there are sellers, or there are longs who are risking off of this low, who have a stop below this low. Now, how many are there? I don't know. You know, it's impossible for me to say, but I always tend to assume that price seeks where the most liquidity might be, and you've got a little gap there. It would be relatively poetic for them to come in and clear the gap, find this anchored VWAP from the low, from the 2022 lows, take out all the stops, and then potentially find support. It's possible. I'd also be looking here too, kind of around 10 bucks. This is kind of your pivot that took you all the way down to the low. And then when they came back through it, they never came back and tested it. So you could argue that there was a bit of a break in structure kind of here. right? They made a new high and they just sent it. Way, way lower. There's this too. It's debatable. But they didn't really, you know, they tested it right here. But they tested it long before any new high was made, right? So generally, I would be looking for more of a, I would be looking for a pullback at some point. But I don't know. I mean, this thing's pretty beat down. Of course, watch crypto too, right? I'm gonna head over back to NFLX here. Oh, all right. So we already got the announcement. Netflix quarter four sales 8.83 billion, beat 8.72 billion estimate. So it beat by 1.31%. Is a 12.49% increase over sales of 7.85 billion the same period. So same period last year. So now we're going to be putting your, Joe, we're putting your seller's theory to the test here. Remember, seasonality aligns for this name. The mean change aligns for this name to have a move. Brian, what's up, man? Congratulations. How did you trade it? What was your Brian, what was your trade on that? 13 million users versus 8 million expected. Is that additional users? Is that like added this quarter? So Daily, I just heard back from Braden. He said he's going to send you an email. He said that he doesn't have anything from you in his inbox. So presumably your thought on maybe it went to spam, that might be true. Give me 1 second, you guys. Yeah, no problem. Happy to be a middleman. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. This move looks like just a little blip, doesn't it? So how'd you trade this thing, Brian? I considered taking a little spec long. But just too often on earnings, there's just, you know, too often there's give back in after hours. You get the move, you get the pop, and then they give it back by the next day's open. So if you're trading options, it's really tricky. It can be really tricky. So I decided against it. But stoked for you, man. Big congratulations. Hey, listen, y'all, if you are not already a subscriber to the channel, please hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe. You know, you hear every single person who goes live on YouTube say this, but it actually does make a difference. We do all really appreciate your likes and subscribes. So if you're not already a subscriber to the channel and you're interested in getting updates on, you know, when I go live, I try to go live a couple times a week. It's usually the game plan. I'm going to be live again tomorrow for Tesla. You got to be live for Tesla, right? So I'm going to go live for Tesla earnings tomorrow afternoon as well. I know you are, Daily buy and hold man. The secret is know what you're good at, right? If you can manage buy and hold, by all means. So who's this guy? I just pulled up the analyst estimates widget. Benchmark. Never even heard of Benchmark. Well, whoever they are, they have been very bearish on Netflix for quite a while. So a little pro tip. You guys may not follow analysts, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't. They're a dime a dozen, but every once in a while, there are little pockets of alpha. And this is one of them. Matthew Harrigan from Benchmark confirms Netflix as a sell and has reconfirmed that as recently as just a couple days ago, 4 days ago. But he reconfirmed it a couple of months ago. He reconfirmed it half a year ago. He reconfirmed it. He's reconfirmed it. It's all he's done is reconfirm that Netflix is a sell. And he's done so for months and months and months. This man has been dead wrong. And he continues to be dead wrong. And perhaps one day will come along and he'll have an impact on a stock. And you'll know that perhaps it's time to fade that impact. You know? That's awesome, man. Stoked, very stoked, Daily, that you are profiting here. Why not joining in from the gym? Nice. I need to get there myself today. Yeah, you know, I mean, Elon is just such force, right? Like, Tesla is overvalued. You can see it in the PE ratios. I'm not a huge PE ratio guy, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But let me show you this. So this is kind of hard to read, but you've got Microsoft, you've got Apple. Just going to change these colors a little bit. There we go. And maybe I shouldn't be comparing it to these names, but you've got Microsoft, you got Apple, you've got Google, you've got NVIDIA, and you've got Tesla. And you would look at price to earnings. Here's Tesla. And here's the rest of the pack. So red, I believe, is Apple. Yeah, red's Apple. Apple and Google are kind of neck and neck. All right, here's Tesla. Here's Apple. Here's Google. Did I say that right? Yeah. You've got NVIDIA in yellow here. And then you got Microsoft. So NVIDIA is actually the most undervalued of the five, which is really crazy. Yeah, so let's use the remainder of our time to talk Tesla, yeah? Now that we've kind of seen the report from Netflix. Let's use the remainder of our time to talk Tesla. Where are we at here? 511. If anything wild happens, y'all can tell me. But let's talk about Tesla. And let's go to the monthly first. So monthly, very little has changed from our video over the weekend. But here's your monthly. I've got an anchored view out from the March, the COVID lows, essentially. And that's really what they're trying to hold here. They tried to hold it back in May of 2022. They ended up breaking down. It became very clear resistance for 4 months, pretty much all through the early summer. Well, I guess spring of 2023. It was the level of resistance. They broke above it, and now they're coming back in to test it. And they tried to break down here and managed to reverse it. They're stuck in this really clean symmetrical triangle, but they are closed. Currently, they are trading below the low of that symmetrical triangle. So a little bit of concern there, but they're trying to hold this anchored VWAP from the COVID lows. It feels like the most important thing on the chart here. If we go to the weekly, you guys, you know, I talk price action all the time. Here's your swing that brought you up. And ultimately, what did we do? Ultimately, we broke structure, right? So they broke the low that brought you up to the high. They tried to hold it. They tried to hold it in here. You know, essentially, if you draw kind of an area in here from those lows that brought you up, that's where they tried to hold. And they did a decent job at first, but then they ultimately broke below. So they broke structure. So when they break structure, like they've done, then what you expect is when they do bounce, that you get some sort of failure on the shoulder. This is how Head and Shoulders are built. And so there's your bounce retest of the shoulder, and they're just stuck in this range. So you might just stay stuck in this range. If we draw a VWAP from, again, this is the 2023 lows. They're trying to hold it. Let's go back here. Yeah, so this is essentially like a zigzag concept daily. If we go to the daily, then you got this though. And a lot of traders are pointing to this, and they could be right. You know, I don't know. You've got, oops. I guess I already have one up. I don't know why it's playing Christmas music right now. So this is interesting. I think this is interesting. Every major low we've had since January 2023, we have seen RSI get into oversold or damn near it. Right here, right here, right here. And then again, right now. So a lot of traders are pointing to this, and they're saying, well, you know, past 5 times, it's coming to these oversold or almost oversold levels on RSI. Those have marked the lows, and they have. I mean, they really have. They've marked like the major interim low. And a lot of traders are pointing to the potential of this inverted Head and Shoulders. And they could be right. So I don't know. It's really tricky to say. Seasonality is meh, is not really noteworthy. There's nothing of any real substance that says price should be acting a certain way. You know, it's not like it's June. We do have quite a few analyst downgrades here, but these are all people who have, well, they're not all reiterations. And they're not all cells. I'm going to add them to this part of the chart so we can kind of see. Oh. Yeah, so these aren't even all that recent. So analysts aren't saying much. They'll definitely be saying a lot tomorrow for sure. I mean, I don't know. Elon talking about just last week, talking about not wanting to devote a bunch of new ideas to Tesla because he doesn't own at least 25% voting share. How can you have confidence in that? Like, clearly he's poking the bear. At least that's what it seems like. But also, he sold all those shares. Like, he did have... Did he not? Did he not have at least 25% voting right before he sold all his shares? Or he sold a ton of shares? We can take a look at all of his selling. Just change these colors real quick so you guys can see them a little bit better. This is a brand new indicator that we've just launched. You guys will see the update about it here very soon. So what this indicator does is it prints buys, sells, and gifts directly onto the chart for you. So you can kind of see on chart where these insiders are doing their thing. And in a lot of cases, you're going to see what this looks like. You're going to see scenarios that look like this. It goes back a year of data, so we may not have, we don't have a ton actually, there is no selling from him in the past year. Okay, so all of his selling he was doing was 2022. But there was a period there where he was selling a ton. Anyway, this is a pretty cool little indicator. Not for the sake of seeing things like this, because there's not really any alpha in this per se. But every once in a while, like we were kind of going through and finding interesting charts. And every once in a while, there are insiders that get it dead wrong. Every once in a while, there are insiders that get it dead right. And so to know that there are insiders that get it dead wrong and dead right is pretty interesting. And you know, if you have names that you trade and you pay attention to what the insiders at those companies are doing, you might be able to find a little bit of alpha, like this particular person here, this Steven Molenkoff fella, buying BA on July 31st, 2023. He bought $201,000 worth of shares. Hopefully he held on to them because the thing reversed against him 26.25% before finally finding a bottom. His 200 grand turned into 150 grand post haste in just a couple of months. What he should have done is he should have talked to this Theodore Colbert, who sold the next day 2 million shares, because he nailed the top. So, like, you know, if you happen to find a particular insider that happens to, you know, read the charts well. There's another one, this fellow from Carvana. This is pretty interesting. This is the same person. This Paul Barreau dude. September 11th, 2023, sold $223,000 worth of shares. Oh, no, I'm sorry. $1.2 million. No, gosh, you guys, I'm sorry. What is this? September 11th. Okay, $980,000 worth of shares this guy sold. He was like 3 days from the top. After he sold, thing reversed 50%. Nice sell, sir. Paul Barreau. Months later, December 19th, same dude sold 1.2 million at the highs. This guy's a monster trader. Straight up, like monster trader. Stock down as much as 34% since his sell. So there are people in these companies that really know how to trade. I mean, presumably. Now, yeah, maybe some of them just like are on schedules where they're selling all the time. but maybe they're not, you know, like, I don't know who this Paul Barreau guy is. We could learn about him. We could Google him and find out exactly who he is. But he nailed the top twice in a row for, you know, netted himself over 2 mil. This 980 he made here would have been 450, 440 at the bottom, at the lows. This 1.2 mil he made here reduced to like 800,000, just like a couple weeks later. So there's lots that you can kind of gain from this. There is a lot of noise, but there's signal in the noise, and that's kind of the whole point. So if you have tickers that you like, I would encourage you to download this indicator. It is a custom indicator, so you have to download it. Let me grab a link real quick. So if there are any of you out there who are interested in this, here you go. Here's a link to the blog post that we just released about this indicator. I'm going to show you one other thing, and then I'm probably going to get on out of here. In that blog post, we included an additional... Oh, shoot. Do I not have it downloaded here? Ah, shoot. Well, let me do this. All right. So I've just downloaded an additional version of this indicator that is also available in that blog. And what this indicator does, or what this version of it does, this is just one concept, right? You can take this concept if you're a developer or coder, or you want to play around with the code itself, and I'll show you kind of what you can do. This is all, well, not all, but it's most of the important major airlines. It's their insiders and their insider actions on top of the Jets chart. So this is just one concept. So if I go to insider, we go here. You can see this at the top here where it says constant tickers. You can input unique tickers here if you wanted to. Like, let's say you wanted to, you know, put Apple and Google and Netflix and Tesla, the Mag 7, let's say, on top of QQQ. You could do that. You just have to make your own copy and input the tickers right here and save them. Just make sure that everything is in quotes. Make sure everything's got the comma. You know, make sure it's all spaced exactly how it's spaced here. You can just delete this and change it. But for the sake of just showing you guys kind of what this is. So if I zoom in here, you can actually see what insiders at what companies kind of have a better track record, like which ones tend to buy lows, which ones tend to sell highs. Like the thing that I noticed was that we have quite a bit of buying from Dow, from Delta, and from United here at the lows. If we go back to those previous highs, what do we see? Delta, UAL. I guess this is Hawaiian. Delta, Delta, Delta. So we had Delta insiders like really, really selling the highs. Down here, we could see Delta insiders buying the lows. Delta insiders selling highs all through in here. Delta insiders coming back in, buying lows. I mean, it's actually kind of crazy. Delta insiders are just good traders. Either that or they got bankrolls. But whatever the case, you got United Airlines and Delta Airlines buying lows here. You got United Airlines and Delta Airlines selling highs. You got United Airlines and Delta Airlines buying lows. That's interesting. That's interesting. And there's not really any other way to know that or see that. So let's do this real quick. I'll show you really quickly and then we'll go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to clone this. And I'm going to change it to tech. I'm going to show you something crazy. Or at least what I think is going to be crazy. I could be wrong about this. So I'm going to say Microsoft. I'm going to say Tesla. Apple. I'm going to say Google. NVIDIA. And Meta. And apply. Oh, save. All right. So let me turn off Insider Actions Airlines. And go back to QQQ. What do you not see here? Tell me what you do not see. You know what I don't see? Well, I don't see the indicator anymore because I turned it off. Wait. Darn it. All right, I have to make this again. Apologies, guys. I am not a coder. That is the reality here. What did I say? Let's just say Amazon. Let's say Meta. Microsoft. And what else is there? My God, I'm spacing. Why am I spacing? NVIDIA. And say save. All right, so Insider Actions Tech. Let's turn this back on. All right, so here is all insider actions of the biggest tech names on the QQQ chart over the past year. What do you not see? I don't see any of these guys buying. Like, there's one buy here. Or there's a little small handful of them. Let's see what these are. What company? Google. You had a couple of people from Google buying. And who was buying? I think I saw something a little bit lower. No. Ah, yeah, here. Let me just turn off GIFs for a second so I can see who that is. Oh, darn. Well, my point is, tech insiders from Google are the only ones that are buying. And they're not even buying that much. But these dudes sure are selling. And they sure are getting a lot of gifts. Anyway, it's interesting, right? Take this idea and run with it. I encourage you to play around. Yeah, right? See, Brian, why not? Always trying to give you guys some new stuff to play around with. This is the new toy. We're going to be giving you guys the PE ratio tools this weekend. And yeah, that's the latest from us. That's going to close out the show for me today. I hope you guys learned a little something. If you didn't, well then, I don't know. Hopefully I'll teach you something next time. I'm going to get out of here. Let's, one quick thing. Let's go back to Netflix and see where we're trading, just so we know. Yeah, 527. This thing's gaining, huh? Pretty powerful little move. Anxious to see how it opens tomorrow. Kind of got to feel like that next fib level that we talked about might be in place soon at 575. Are they up and over? Let's check real quickly. Yeah, well up and over, point of control from that swing. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. Let's also check this real quick. I'm just going to add a volume by price. Let's just check. Oh, God, the Christmas song again. I don't know why it's playing a Christmas song. There's no need for that. This is the way. Daily. That's how we do it, man. Try and teach you guys something every single time. That's the goal. If you guys can learn something every single time you're here, then I have achieved what I'm after. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. If y'all need me, you know where to find me, at Krutzky Trades on Twitter. I will throw it in the chat so you have it. There you go. It's been a pleasure hanging. To everybody here who was long Netflix today, big round of applause to you. Congratulations. Really glad that trade worked out. And yeah, I'll be back again this time tomorrow, like 3:30 Eastern time. We're going to be watching Tesla, because you got to watch that, right? You got to watch Tesla. Come hang out with me if you got nothing else going on tomorrow. If you need anything, you know where to find me, and I will talk to you guys real soon. All right, Eric, take care. Great to have you. Thanks for being here, Eric. Holler if you need me. Hold on, whale, like my friend whale, or a different whale, Eric? Probably not my friend if you're just now following me. Anyway. Great being here. Thanks for being here. Y'all holler at me if you need me. I know I've said it 10 times. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon. All right, take care.